justice for all.
Thank you for attending our March 26th meeting. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Carl?
Here.
Commissioner Walters? Commissioner Reed?
Here.
Commissioner Whittington?
Here.
Commissioner Burgo?
Here.
Are there any corrections or additions to the agenda?
Chairman, I'd like to move for approval of consent agenda with the amendment to include the proposed budget from Neil Hammerback for finance coordinator.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Reading of the cash balances.
101 general fund, 59,627.66. 516 unallocated balance, 4,629.61. Advance from the 516 UTA, $360,000. Total general fund cash, 59,627.66 before the bills.
Thank you. Are there any public comments at this time? Any public comments? Hearing none. Is there a Mr. Scott Redmond here?
Yes.
I am. We're a bit early. It's all yours.
All right, thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. I haven't been here in a while, this is a position, but I haven't changed representing Gladwin on the 211 board, making sure that we're fully funded for our county. And that's why I was here today is to, I have a copy of this about the attachments. To make sure you understand again what 211 does, we did a presentation 2 years ago, I believe, to this commission, explaining what 211 is, how important it is to our community, how many people we serve. Last year we were asked for the first time to raise our own money. Every other county had been asked for years, and we kind of had been fledgling. So last year we did a great job of raising almost $4,000 to make sure that we have 211 in the county. If you don't know, we serve thousands of people. It's a nonprofit. Anyone can call. It's confidential. Call 211, find out what services are available in your area. It saves people from making 15 phone calls. It saves you from saying, well, I think Michigan still does that. I think 1016 still does that. Instead, you can say, you know what, I'm just going to give you one phone number and make sure that someone is, finding out what's in our area and what's available. So again, we sent a letter asking for your support again this year. You're one of our biggest supporters last year. And typically in our region, the commissioners do see the value in this and do support 211 to make sure that it remains in our county. If you have any questions, I'm going to let Scott, the director of 211, talk to you for a few minutes. Again, if you've ever had a chance to use 211, it is so valuable. At 1016 now at the health department, it's something we give out regularly because we can't answer all those questions. We can't keep a database of what's available in Gladwin County. Instead, we have professionals who are doing that. So, Scott?
Great, thanks, sir. Sir passed out a couple of packets with some information, and I thought I'd just kind of highlight the reports piece, which was kind of the last 2 pages, because I think that's probably where you'll see the usage for the county. Unfortunately, I didn't bring enough of those for those in the audience, but I did pass out to you our frequently asked questions, so you have an understanding of what the 211 program is if you aren't familiar with it yet. But those reports, you'll see that they're one that's a bar chart. Like I said, it's almost the second to the last page there. And what that is just to kind of give you an idea of by quarter the usage of our program. And it's not a cumulative total, it's each quarter stands alone. So you can see we're actually over 200, what we call a contact, or 200, over 200 times a month somebody from Gladwin County is actually reaching out to us looking for information for their county. Now, most of the time it's people looking to get some type of help, right? They're looking for all those things that are on that last page, that laundry list there. But there's also, the 211 can be used for people that want to give help. So if somebody, let's say, remodeled their kitchen and they have that perfectly good refrigerator or stove that they want to donate, they can call us and say, hey, who in my community, what organization can take that as a donation? So, although it's primarily used for people looking for assistance, we do get the person that occasionally wants to donate an item as well, so they can use this for that. So that's why if you look at the last page, you'll see some of those things in there, where people are looking for perhaps an appliance or something like that. You'll also see that we can break it down and it may say appliance donation. So, it has a pretty good value that way as far as a give and get help mechanism. To just kind of do the numbers for you so you don't have to add up all those quarters, it actually turned out to be over 570 people reached out looking for something from 211. And one person that calls us a lot of times looks for more than one thing. It's I need help with rent, and oh, is there a food pantry? Or my parents are getting a little bit up there in years. Is there a senior program? And oh, they just now need a handicap ramp too. So it can be multiple things that they're looking for. So those 577 contacts, as we call them, they were looking for over 900 pieces of assistance in the county. And we then provided over 1,300 referrals to different community programs to get that assistance. The other piece that we report back to, like the Community Collaborative and United Way programs and things, is what people are calling for that's unmet, so that the community can better understand what people are looking for that there may not be a program. So they can look that, we can look that up and say, oh, in the last quarter, there seemed to be a big need for a transportation or a dental clinic, those types of things. So if they ever see an opportunity to write a grant, or if you ever happen to have that extra pool of money sitting around, right, you would actually maybe have an idea of where best to spend those dollars for the program. And then there's always, there's a couple of other things that is kind of the unknown about our program that I wanted to remind you about too, is 211 is always standing ready to help the county in the time of a disaster. We believe that we could be that conduit to the public for large-scale power outages in the winter or something like that. Where's my community warming shelter? Or where can I go to get fresh water? Or is it safe to come back to my home yet? Those types of things that we would be more than willing to work with the county and have those phone calls to alleviate the 911 system so that they can do what they really need to be doing in those times, right? And that's providing the police and medical and fire assistance that they need to be doing when those things happen. So we can help the county in those regards as well. I'm going to kind of be quiet at this moment and ask the questions because I know there's probably some out there and I want to make sure we don't leave and still have some desire to know some answers.
How soon do you need donations?
We can accept them at any time. We were trying to, be honest with you, get all of our counties that we serve to get their contributions the first quarter, because then that allowed us of the year, so that allows us to better budget. So if we don't make our goals, we know, okay, we have to start trimming things, and we wanted to know that sooner than later. But we also say, hey, whatever works for the organization that we're talking to, in their schedule, their funding schedule.
I just know for us, we've got a lot in front of us right now. So personally, I think it's a fantastic program, and I really appreciate the amount of time you put into it. I just don't know if I personally can commit to it yet.
Sure.
So.
I talked to Commissioner Rose, Bill Rose last week, and he was very supportive of it. And I think with the program, like I said, we need to see where we're going right now. But he was very supportive of it.
Oh, great.
No, I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. I know in the township that I live out in the village, I do know of a number of people, quite a number of people that have used this to
Oh, great. And have you heard positive things, I hope?
yes.
Okay. I would also like to say, though, if you do ever hear, kind of that negative comment, please let us know, because then there's something that we need to maybe look at and address. Sometimes, to be honest, the negative comment is because we had to tell somebody, I'm sorry, there isn't anything in your county. The person that calls us and says, hey, can you pay a bus ticket for me to go to my friend's wedding in Texas? We get those kind of phone calls occasionally. sorry, nobody's gonna pay for you to go to your friend's wedding in Texas. But, please let us know.
And we know that it really, takes and relieves 911 a little bit too, so. It's just,
Yeah, we hope, the longer we're in a community, that it becomes more of a habit to call us, you know, when they're gonna have a utility shut off versus, yeah, what they're gonna do is. Thank you. Any other questions? Comments? I will also then say too that, just to wrap up kind of that, 911, or excuse, 211 is all, over the state, except for 3 counties currently. So the nice thing about that too is if there's a Gladwin resident that says, you know, I'm looking for assistance for a child in Muskegon, for example, they can still call us and say, you know, I'm looking for a resource for my children in Muskegon, what do you have? And we're able to find that as well. So it's not only Gladwin residents calling for just a Gladwin resource, we're connected to the entire state. So it kind of broadens that up to 81 counties at this point.
Any other questions? Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming.
If you do think of something later, you know, it's as simple as just pick up the phone and dial 211 and ask to talk to me. We'll answer that for you. Thanks.
Thank you. Under new business, we have a memorandum from Neil Hammerbacher that we should probably talk about right now. And the board has that, along with an explanation. Essentially, a long story short, there's, what he's saying, $500,000-ish that he would like to see us try to work with the sheriff's department and shave out, if possible. And he's got his explanations down there, and what he did was more of a demographical study of the surrounding communities and per person, you know, how many per capita, how much money we're spending on expenditures versus revenues. That numbers aren't always perfect, but as close as he can come to what he recommends, we try to shave out of our budget to give us a fund equity at the end of the year of somewhere around 13% over a period of the next 2 to 3 years. We just need to work with the sheriff and undersheriff to accommodate that. We felt it's important that the rest of the board know the direction we're heading and try to get your feelings for it. We're meeting with them again Wednesday after the department head meeting. So this would be a good time for comments from you guys if you have any questions or concerns.
You know, just saying the finance committee should continue to meet with them and narrow it down before they were in classes or approved. I encourage that.
Anybody else have comments? It'll be tough decisions,
Yeah.
but we just need to work together and try to.
I think everybody's pro safety, but I look at the numbers and I think, well, wait a minute, you know, we'll have to look at that and leave that up to finance committee. I think everybody needs public safety.
What do you think, Eric?
Well, you know, I'm just thinking that when we start talking $500 million out of somebody, that's a lot of money. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I haven't been involved in some of these numbers. What I would like to mention after a meeting Wednesday with the sheriff and the sheriff or whatever, we always may want to keep in mind the possibility, nobody likes this, but we go out for a millage. It's just a thought, you know, I mean, it's an option, I guess, that they at least can throw in the pot. So,
And I think we've talked about that years ago, and never, just kind of went on the wayside, but I think we need to look at that. I know Roscommon, my son works up there, but if it wasn't for the millage, we look at one family. Now we're trying to swim like in the middle.
But, you know, I know you've all watched the news, and you see what the mess Detroit's in. Well, we're not Detroit, obviously, but we don't want to get in that situation. What do we come to that?
And I, you know, and I talked to one of the commissioners in Midland County, like 2 years ago, they let six road officers go. I know they're going through financial times. I can't believe Midland County is, but they are. And I talked to him again the other day, and he said that it's just like anyone else. It's hard times right now. They can have the revenue and the taxes and money. People don't have it right now. So, and I don't know where it's going to go with the millage. But I think everybody wants law enforcement. You know, everybody wants protection, even after the robbery we had the other day. And, I don't know what the answer is. But I think we have to come as a community and work together and see where we're going to go with it.
I think it'll start with the finance committee working with the sheriff and undersheriff Wednesday, and they're more than willing to do that. It is a delicate balance with what little bit of fund equity we don't have, literally. And I think strategically we've kind of planned ourselves, trying to position ourselves with the state that we didn't want to overspend, but yet we don't want to go in the hole. And I think Neil's recommendation is trying to be a little proactive, that, you know, we're heading into a hole if we don't react now, especially with some of the healthcare expenses that may or may not happen next year. 30 to 65%, which is either $300,000 or $846,000 increase on our healthcare package. You know, what do we do if that happens? And so, talking about a millage, sure, we've talked about it. A public safety millage, certainly. Personally, I think local control is better, so when the state's cutting our personal property tax and we're losing some of that revenue, and we're losing revenue from the state all the time, getting that revenue generated locally here probably is better. But timing for a millage, I'm not so sure about that myself yet. That's why we have to vote and talk to our constituents.
And I think everybody has to know too that you make the healthcare. Beat us up. We went from last year for 800,000 to 787,000 in healthcare to $1.2 million, and we're looking at another 30% on the top of that. So that's going to put us probably about $1.5 million just in healthcare. If I'm figuring
Close. Yeah.
Is that a resolution from Neil? Is that something you'll be voting on today?
No.
So you're just communicating about it?
Just letting the board, like I said, we just wanted the board to know what his response back to us has been and the direction finance is going with you guys.
Yeah. The county's budget is still $8.5 or $9 million. The policeman on the street, though, that budget is $1 million. So when we say county finances in whole, and we pick a portion of it out, what I don't want to have the public believe is the fact that there is $500,000 in law enforcement to get. They've got this, I don't know where those ideas are coming from. I wouldn't know Neil if he was sitting here, to be quite honest about it. But I can tell you for a fact that there's not $500,000 there to give in law enforcement. I saw the numbers that came over initially. I don't know where some of those numbers came from. But all I'm asking the board to do is evaluate the numbers. And when you're doing comparison county to county, compare apples to apples. That's my only wishes as we go forward.
We'll be talking to you and Ray both. We talked with Ray briefly Thursday, and I wanted to meet with you guys before now, but obviously you're kind of a little busy. I understand. Anything else on that from the board? Okay. Moving forward. There was a letter from Judge Evans for a reappointment.
First, Georgia.
Yes.
Support.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Rick Seebeck has been in contact with me, and I know you were aware that he had to shift gears from him personally, the Seebeck Foundation writing grants for the park, to it had to be wrote under the county of Gladwin. USDA and Midland Community Foundation, I did sign those. And now he needs for another, this is for the bathroom renovation. They are requesting our 2012 audit and our current balance sheet, a current balance sheet. And it don't matter if it's this week, next week, or whatever, and I just wanted the board's approval before we gave that to them. It's been moved in second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. I have a resignation letter. Personally, I just gave it to Carmen this morning, so I apologize, but I met with the Department of Human Services yesterday, and Marie Monahan has been with the Department of Human Services Board for 32 years and just resigned as of yesterday. And one, I thanked her on behalf of us, and they gave her a certificate, but we do need to fill that position. There was some interest from Sue Sprang, who was appointed by the governor and then removed at some point, a little confusing. She sat on the board, she's familiar with it. The only thing is we left her a voice message. I know that verbally she was interested, but she hadn't called us back as of this morning. So we could appoint her pending her final approval. That board.
Chairman, mine I asked, I recommend that we accept Bree's resignation.
Well, yeah, thanks. We probably should do that first.
Or,
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And then we have,
other interest in Sue Sprang for this position?
it hasn't been publicated as far as I know. She just sat on the board before, so if you guys wanna,
What was your recommendation to, I mean, recommendation you would love to have us to do?
it's immaterial to me. She just sat on the board before, so it's, if you guys want that, or we can take it to the townships.
I'd rather do that.
Okay.
Me too.
So we'll put that on our agenda for next meeting. And also there is the Risk Management Authority renewal documents that I need authorization to sign. Do I have those in front of me? Do you have those, Laura?
I do not have that.
That's
So moved.
It's been, probably should do this by resolution. Roll call vote, I guess, maybe not.
By roll call.
Let's do roll call, I guess. Yeah, let's do it.
Commissioner Carl,
Yes.
Commissioner Walters, Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Whittington,
Yes.
Commissioner Burgle.
Yes.
Community development.
There was an asset distribution for $47,584 that typically we just roll back over into our loss or dues or whatever. Do we want to roll that back this year? Like we normally do?
I would be in favor of it.
Me too.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. What's this one, Carmen?
They're all just original.
Okay. Alright. And I personally don't have much more to report on, so let's start with committee reports. Commissioner Walters?
18th, attended the city meeting. They recognized Dave Bonham. I think everybody's seen that in the paper this past week for 20 years of service for the ice arena. He was one of the persons that helped get that started. Really doing good for us.
How many years did you say, Terry?
20. They've also also received a grant from, or I should say some money from consumers for the local garden they have on Weber Road. Power. And they're talking about fencing that, so to keep the deer out. So I know they've been harvesting a lot of crops and that would be further there. And the city's been writing a lot of grants, and I'm really impressed with the city of Gladwin, how they're doing things out there. The Riverwalk path, they have a grant for that, for an extension of the walk path they have here in the city, down along the river. And eventually, someday, they want to make it up at Beaverton. So that's something they're working on. They have a grant for that for $17,500.
How far will they be going, Terry? I'm sorry.
To the end of the state property right now.
Cool.
So eventually, I said they're going to make it to Beaverton. But I think there's some private property owners in that. So I don't know how they're going to do it. So kind of easy or whatever they will do. Veterans, as we get older and pass away, we have Vince Southwell, he's in Beaverton Township, he's from Korea. Charles Farrell, City of Gladwin, World War II. Ann Louise Martin, Korea, City of Beaverton. Glenn Berry, Grout Township, Korea. Lawrence Wendell. Gerald Frettenloff, from Holt, is Korean. And I was gonna mention the 211, but that's already been done, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Walters. Commissioner Carl.
Thank you. Yeah, I attended a meeting out in Billings Township on the dam repairs and lowering the lake levels. And there's probably about, Commissioner Walters there as well, there's probably 150, 60 people there. It's quite interesting. They're still in the initial stages, so just have to keep our eye on it and see how it comes out. And in my township meetings, and one of the questions I had from all of them was in regards to the FEMA flood task force and where the preliminary mapping is. The last meeting they had agreed to pass a motion to purchase floodplain mapping, preliminary mapping for each of the townships, and it hasn't been done as yet. So if you were kindly getting a letter out to Bob Evans over there, we can find out what's done. Where is he?
He's
There
right
he
here,
is.
actually.
Okay, Bob, you snuck in on me. There's a big concern out there on the maps, Bob.
Yeah, the problem we're getting into, and I'm going through it now, is we're trying to, as we mentioned at the task force meetings, when we submit these plans to FEMA, they're gonna put them on their 2000 scale map, and you aren't gonna see the homes, all that kind of stuff, so we're going through and trying to identify all the homes that are in the floodplain, and we're gonna list those on a separate set of drawings. That's where we are now. I do have the drawings as of last Friday of the preliminary ones, but we got into a little bit of trouble because the first time we had the preliminary meetings, we had one township that had 3 parcels in it, and that was based on an earlier version of the HECRAS model. So when we made the drawings from the wrong model, which is essentially what amounted to, so when we redid it, there are now probably 30 parcels in that township that are in it. And it was requested by the supervisor there to identify those parcels. And so now we have to go back and tell him and everybody else they aren't. So, and again, these are preliminary that are what we're submitting to FEMA and not what FEMA has accepted. But, so I have a little bit of a problem doing that, but we haven't, but we're having a little bit of trouble coordinating identifying the properties that are in it. The property lines are off a little bit, and so you have to go back and physically say, okay, trying to identify her property so we can find out where she is, and I said, and she's trying to explain to me over the phone where it is, and I'm looking at it, and I said, well, do you have a blue shed there? And she says, no, that. Well, then I finally figured out it's a pontoon boat, blue shrink wrap on it. So, it can be kind of taxing. I mean, it'd be nice just to be able to put our GIS stuff right on the drawings, but it doesn't work out too well that way. So we're having a little bit of problems there. And that's a separate issue from the preliminary maps that we have. And I completely missed that from the minutes that we had decided to go ahead and get these sets, but I do have them now. Schedule a meeting for either later this week or next week and distribute those to people. So
Do we need a meeting, or can we just send them out?
we could probably send them out if they,
I think that's what
just
was
thought it'd be
discussed.
better to meet with them, so if they had any questions, they could ask them at the time. But I can contact them, tell them stop in my office, pick them up if they want to. But that is my fault. I missed it in the last minute that they, I knew we had discussed it, but I thought we decided just to wait until we got the original, or we got the ones that were being submitted to FEMA. But
Your communications with FEMA been okay?
been great for me. I haven't talked to them.
Not at all.
They haven't contacted us, and it's like I mentioned, if they called and said, hey, we need them tomorrow, we'd have them to them tomorrow. So it isn't, they have all the other information, we just don't have the hard copy of that. So, but we'd like to get it all together, because then each of these supervisors will have that drawing, and the bank's calling, or the firm in Texas, or wherever it is looking after the bank, says, you're in the floodplain, the supervisor can say, no, yes, and these are the only ones that are in, so.
When do you think that we will get an answer back from the idea?
No, not really. We haven't submitted it to them yet, so we'll probably submit them, I'd say, within the next 1 to 2 weeks. I think you should have them done by then. My initial intent was to put an insert on each map and have a blow-up, because we have several properties that the line being so wide on a 400 scale map, it may show it touching a home, but if we blew it up, then we could see the, oh, well, wait a minute, it doesn't. And I'm making this sound a little more precise than it really is, because there's some interpolation when you draw contour lines, but I don't know how I'd advise people, depending on their property and how they feel, but anyone can join or buy the flood insurance. And there are going to be some people that are outside the floodplain that may want to purchase it. And they can still do that, but it's just that they won't be forced to buy it. So, but back to your question, Terry, I'm anticipating if we give it to them that, we should hear back from them within a month or less.
Okay, I guess I'm confused. We've sent them some information already.
Yes,
What did we send them already?
we sent them all the digital stuff that they need.
Okay.
And we sent it to them for review originally as a first pass. And after 6 months, we didn't get any response from them, so then we notified them that we were completing it and finalizing it and sending them to them. And I think it was a matter of a couple of days, or maybe even the same day, we had a notice back that they said, well, they don't review anything until they have everything. That's just their policy, so.
So in a week or so, we'll have the maps sent to them and they'll go over everything.
Yeah, and I have no idea what the workload is or how they're doing, but Stantec will be doing a review for them. But I would think we'd hear something back within a month or so anyway.
That's kind of, my understanding, everything was in, maybe I misled or whatever. They need visual maps to look at too.
Yeah,
And we got them the digital versions that they wanted by now.
yeah.
One question that just.
Not in the form they wanted, but in the form that was originally, yeah,
Okay.
agreed with them.
I was just thinking about your process. You mentioned that if the township supervisors, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm just thinking through this process. If the township supervisors have these maps and a bank calls them, the supervisor, to ask them if there's a house that's in the floodplain or not, the bank may or may not accept that as,
No, the banks will have to accept it.
regardless whether FEMA has or not.
Yeah, and what I'm working with Bob Fry on is trying to get it in the initial stages, but I'd like to put it up on the website so that when they pull it up, see, when these companies, the banks hire a company to investigate whether someone's in the floodplain or not. So somebody setting, the last two I've dealt with are in Dallas, Texas, and they're determining whether a house is in or not, and in both these cases, these houses are 30 feet above the water level. And they're saying they're in it. And so what they do is they pull up a FEMA map. And I've talked to some people that worked for these firms in the past, and that's why I got concerned and wanted to add these parcels into our maps. They say if there's any question at all, they are on the conservative side, that, yeah, you're in it. And they said, the one individual I talked to said that if the line touches the property's in it, whether the house is in it or not, because they can't interpret it from their drawings. And so we're trying to make that interpretation for them. Well, the townships that are in it, they have maps showing who's in, or at least in Hay Township, yeah. And so when they get these maps, they'll have it, and they'll be able to tell, or the supervisor will be able to write a letter to the bank saying this property, or this home is or is not in the floodplain. But who knows how they're gonna do it. I mean, the banks are setting up their own insurance companies, so they're realizing it's a real lucrative business to be in, so. But if we have the official maps that are adopted by FEMA, then the supervisor can say, no, they are not in the floodplain, or yes, they are in other cases.
So really, you're trumping FEMA's decision?
No, we're not trumping their decision, but we're making sure that their decision is
That's
correct.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But we're able to do that in the interim until FEMA actually gives us their answer back.
Well, technically, there are several of these homeowners that their banks are saying they're in the floodplain and they aren't because they don't have floodplain maps. And they don't have VFE yet, or basic flood elevation. So the only ones that do obviously are the three that belong to the NFIP. And so I'm referring them back to the supervisors and saying, hey, check your maps if these people are in or they're not. And in most cases, it's been, no, they're not. So, and that was in the initial go-around, obviously because interest rates are so low, everybody's trying to refinance, and then that's when they're trying to throw everybody in. But in a few cases, I said there are no floodplain maps in your township because nothing's been adopted by FEMA yet. Now, the preliminary ones that they gave us are issued, but they're not really issued. They've been given preliminary to the township, but have not proceeded any further because of the appeal that we put in, plus then we got the extension anyway, so some of the banks are jumping the gun as well as most.
So the banks really can't use them yet because they're not really certified or not taken.
They haven't been accepted by FEMA and read into the congressional record. Once they're read into the congressional record, then those maps are final. therefore, by listing which property's in there, that is in line with, no matter what their map on their webpage or their website shows. So,
Any other questions for Bob?
Bob, do you have a date in mind for the meeting with the task force on these floodplain maps?
well, if I had gotten over them a little earlier this weekend, I probably would have called Carmen, had her scheduled for this week, but it's probably pretty tight. I think we've been meeting on Wednesdays, so, I don't know if we want to try and do it Wednesday or if we want to put it off till next week.
Probably next week, yeah, maybe we can get through and schedule a room, and let us know that. Good, thank you.
Are you done?
Yep.
Okay, just making sure I kind of lost track myself.
Good luck.
Commissioner Burgle?
I've attended Beaverton City Fair Board, the Airport Board. Beaverton City is still negotiating with the township and tobacco on building their firehouse. So other than that, things are pretty much normal. At the fair, the ice events that were conducted, but as you know, they're attempting to use the fairgrounds for other purposes other than the week of the fair, try to generate revenue because the income to the fair has been diminishing regularly now for the last 10 years. And the ice events ended up losing $156 net. But that, of course, was the capital improvements of the what was done in investing in the system. That is not 100% negative. In other words, now for next year, they think that the word does get around. The events were very positive. Except attendance wasn't what they needed to be for the gate. The mud box stuff I left on each of your desks, the information about the mud box is coming up next weekend. And that they're expecting to do a little better because of the competition that went on during the ice events won't exist on this one. In the airport, Mike Hargrave is doing a heck of a job, guys, and we're in good hands there, and he's still negotiating next year for making a financial arrangement to, again, bring more revenue in to using the airport runways for testing of the electric steering system. So, other than that, we got 2 more meetings today and 2 more tomorrow. Having fun.
Very good.
Don, are you having Carmen send these out to the townships?
No, I hand those out. You talking about the events
Schedule of
list?
events.
When I go to the township and Beaverton City, I handed out the mud bog information, the flyers.
Have her send it
Beaverton
out to
City,
the
right?
others? Would you like her to send it out to the other townships?
It was, that would make sense, sure.
Yeah.
But that's I forgot to mention, that's the
Schedule
annual
event.
schedule for the events at the fair. And that's helpful information to have.
As well as the GDPA and BABA both, Gladwin Business and Professional Association and you have both those in there? I'll get them for you. That's it, then?
That's it.
Terry Whittington. Mr. Chairman of Finance.
Before I start my report, I'd like to mention that about 3 weeks ago, I had a couple of gentlemen out in Billings Township come up to me and mention that they were forever reading in the paper about a robbery here, an assault there, a breaking in here, but they never read in the paper about any of them being solved. So within the last couple of weeks, I think that's kind of answered itself. And I do want to congratulate you guys on the good job that you've done. But I mentioned to Mike about the, not complaints, but statements they had made, and I know that you tried to get back with one or two of them, so I guess the facts kind of speak for themselves.
I'll pass it along. The guys over there are working real hard, and they're the ones that need to take credit for it, so, yeah. Thank you.
So all you had to do was jump on him and then he solved these cases, so.
Hey, that's a good idea.
That's
You just want to hear the happy endings.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I have attended a number of meetings, most of which I've attended. You have the minutes on EDC, DPW, airport, And the townships are at Secord, Billings, and Dilly, and Grimm, that goes on. So, move on with the finance matters. Number one, the finance committee researched the option of putting an ATM in the building. This would be of no cost or maintenance to the county. There will be a copy of the contract proposal in the board packets for review.
You guys got a copy, right?
It's attached to your finance minutes.
And there would be one located over here, and one, and we didn't bring this up with Ray or Mike, but one somewhere over there. And if they're adamantly against it, then just one over here, I guess. But at the end of the day, if we had approval to move forward with this, we would work with maintenance and Fry to try to get that done, even if I had to help them run some lines, but.
So, I don't know what computed this to the board, but I think the treasurer, if I remember, thought it would be a good idea.
What's that?
The ATM machine,
Right, that's the same company we checked into before. There's no charge to the county.
and I think during the discussion, we thought it might be some value to the
Can't bring it.
district force. So if there's, I'll make that motion.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Motion passes.
The resolution adopted for MERS has been adjusted to include each qualifying unit. Your board packet should have a copy of the attached resolution for board action. And I will make that motion.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor. Is this a roll call vote?
No, it's
It's
just
just,
a motion acknowledging the changes.
All in
And all
favor?
the changes were is that they added each unit number to the resolution.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number three, Paul Graveline, Recovery Court Coordinator, has requested $7,500 of their allocated monies to be paid out to Clare County for recovery court expenses. The board will need to take action to allow the clerk to make payment to Clare County as requested. Mr. Graveline has been contacted to provide 2012 expense funding to the board for their review prior to Tuesday's meeting.
That's in there.
And
Is it in there?
It's in there.
Is that under finance matters?
I put that under separate, there's that, like, that's in there.
there was some discussion.
It's attached, yeah, no, it's not attached, it's just in your folder.
You know, I read this,
Recovery for our budget.
there was some discussion about it.
I'm just gonna put it in.
I think this is what was going over to Twitter,
Yes.
correct?
Right, here it is. Technically, we just wanted accounting for the monies that we were giving them and where they're spending it, and there's.
So we had not, as far as I know, heard back from them.
In this report, it's, I'm not sure. You know, why don't your motion include the pending final research by finance, so then I can get better numbers? Fair enough?
Yes. So moved.
It's been moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number four, Gladwin East Hardware has consolidated the county's accounts down to only one account. A motion is needed to allow the 8 open accounts to be closed and a new account to be opened. A list of designated signers/chargers will need to be completed to give to Gladwin East to begin April 1st, 2013. And after a lot of discussion with the clerk and what have you, I said to make that motion.
I'd support.
With the comment, first of all, we're only doing this to keep Laura happy. Kidding. But signatures, it's important that that they're legible, so we can read these signatures. As they're coming through finance, some of them are just scribble. We don't know if they're one of our county employees or just some Joe Blow walking into any of our retail stores. So I strongly encourage departments to make sure that signatures are legible. It's been moved in second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number 5, Mike Brubaker, 911 Director, has requested that the following training requests be approved. 2 dispatchers to stress management training at Oakland Community College. Total cost is $380 for the training with 1 night of lodging at $79 per night. The second training is for 4 dispatchers to dispatching suicide calls in Saginaw. There is no lodging for this request, only $1,060 for the course and meal reimbursement. All costs for the 2 trainings are to be paid from 282-000-804-001, and I would make that motion.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number 6, Gina Conrad, GIS, presented a request from Spices for the parcel data shape file. The cost will be $6,000 for the data if the committee recommends charging Spices for the information for the drainage system. And I know when we discussed this in the finance meeting, and I believe that we were under the impression that we felt that we should charge it. So if there's no questions on it, I will make that motion.
Can we get some discussion on that?
Madam Chair.
Yeah. What this is the same thing we did last year, only on the county scale, because we're doing individual ones, so instead of asking for each township or each drainage district, we want Spicer to have access to the whole county, so when we say we need this drain next, we don't have to scramble around and have Gina put some pressure on her to get it done quick for us to do it, which she's gonna be getting pretty busy, obviously. So if they have those records, they have already signed a confidentiality agreement. I think the last time I argued that it doesn't seem fair to me that the people in the drainage district have already paid for these records. And so now we're asking them to pay again on top of what their portion has been for the county, then to pay to have it done again when we already have it. So basically we're taking money out of their pocket to put into the county's pocket. And they're already having to pay to have the drain assessed or cleaned. So that's just an additional cost to all those people. And these maps and this information isn't used anywhere else. It's only used for that. And like I say, they've signed a confidentiality agreement that happens all the time in industry and everywhere else. So I don't think they should have to pay again. And I guess that's my main concern. That information is technically their information that they've paid through, or they've already paid to develop. And it's to no benefit to Spicer. So what it turns out is Spicer will charge the drain office to do that, which I have to go back and assess that for all the drainage districts. Then, so Spicer pays the county for that information, then I pay Spicer for that information. So it isn't wrong, but basically it comes back to the people having to pay to get the information they've already paid to develop. And so I don't think we'll ever do it. I mean, I don't think we'll ever charge those people in the drainage district. I mean, we're not charging Spicer, the Spicer's charging it right back to us. So it just.
If I may, Gina, would you kind of comment?
My only suggestion was, last year, working with the drain office and getting the email that they're doing this drain and they need, this section and this section from this township and this section and this section from this township. And it was very lengthy for me to cut all these sections of parcel data from each one and put them all together in one and email them, and then that happening several times. And then this year, with multiple drains going to be done, the request is very simple, as in they need the entire parcel data shapefile. So then I think the question became, do we charge or do we not charge? And unfortunately, that data was very expensive to accumulate. It's expensive to maintain. If we don't receive income or make money on it, how are we gonna keep it up to date? I understand Bob's dilemma, you know, that sort of the people have already paid for it, but if you take the $6 grand, divide it by the districts and divide it by the people within it, it's a very minimal cost to each person, so.
Okay, one thing, just to get this taken care of, I'll leave the motion.
Did you repeat your motion?
Yes, I make a motion to charge spicers for it, and then report in the second what they want to do for it.
It's been
You oughta
moved and
change
supported.
it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
We're not charging Spicer for it, we're charging the drainage district for it.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Number 7, Under Sheriff Hartwell has requested that Sheriff Shea be allowed to attend the 2013 Summer Training Conference in Bel Air. Total cost for registration is $275 with 2 nights of lodging. Registration costs are to be paid from 285-000-804-000 and lodging from 101-301-804-000 upon approval. And I would make that motion.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Number 8, the board needs to approve the treasurer the authority to advance funds from the 239 Gypsy Moth Fund to the general fund to pay the county bills and payroll. All funding that is advanced will be repaid by the end of the year. And
With
go
interest.
ahead.
With interest.
Thank you.
That's what I was getting at. That
It
would
just
be
didn't make it
with
in the
interest.
minutes.
And I would make that motion.
Yeah. It's been moved and supported. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
And that's it.
There's a couple things that didn't make that. One, there's a letter here from Unison. Not familiar with them. They're out of, Unison Site Management LLC. Long story short, they wanted to help the county create some revenue on our Grialt Road tower. It's been, and I did talk with Mike Brubaker, 911. It's been the position of this board that we not put any more antennas on that tower. One, because of the cabling space, the spacing we need for our public safety antennas, and it gets into some taxation issues. So unless you guys have any desire to approach this, I think we should just send them a letter back stating that regretfully we don't have any room. Okay, we'll send a letter to them. The other one was the letter to the townships, and I know we probably covered this in our consent agenda, but just to make sure you guys read the letter on the ORB MAC procedure, and you guys are all comfortable with that, and if you are, we'll send that out to the townships. And the one thing I left out was the farm show. There was hundreds of people there. I don't know how successful that was this year, but very successful as far as I'm concerned, better than last year, well attended. So, anything else from the board?
Motion received and filed.
We move to second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any public comments? Let me grab that real quick.
What was the idea behind the ATM machines?
The idea was essentially, we need either exact cash or people need cash here. Sometimes they don't have cash if they're arrested and they're brought in here. Instead of us putting healthcare insurance on them and feeding them, they can grab the cash and just be buying themselves out. The other is when they're here, And if they are, what's the correct term? If they need to come up with some cash, and they don't have that cash, they can use their credit card or their ATM machine to grab that cash. So I think it will benefit us in multiple ways. And it's free, and it's a local guy that has this business, and he'll take care of them, and he'll put the cash in and so on and so forth, so we can try it. So, and potentially, a year from now, if you guys read the contract, if there's X amount of users, you know, it steps up, it is a revenue source for us, depending on how many people use those ATM machines. Nothing big, don't really need.
But he can program a fee into it that you guys will receive?
He programs it, right, exactly. He programs a fee for him/us, but that'll be a year from now, once they determine how many times it's being used. So, did you want to talk a little bit, if you're comfortable, about your view of the meeting that we had in Billings? And did you go to the, was it Dave Camp's meeting?
I didn't go to Billings. I do have a video of that I've been reviewing,
Okay.
and it'll be available.
Okay.
And it came out really well. The sound's good, and the video quality's good.
I need to get a hold of Larry, that you or I will. The minutes from that, Joel Johnson wanted to get to Dave Camp, so Dave could talk with Bert about some of the county's concerns and ideas, so.
Stop on the way back.
Yeah, get a set of minutes and get them to Carmen, maybe we can send them on to Ryan's parents. I'll get with you on that.
And there were a few questions to camp last night. I don't know what the questions were, and I have to talk to some people that were there.
Any of those, if you want to get them to me or Carmen, because we'll forward those to Dave Camp's office. Ryan Terrence working on that indirectly with Bert somehow.
Actually, my mom and dad and Tom Dunn were at that meeting last night, so I'm going to get it from them.
Okay, great. Anything else from the public? Gina?
I could just touch a little bit on GIS and where we're going with that. We just completed the zoning districts for the 10 townships that the county currently zones, plus Sage Township. Secord Township will be completed when they're done. They're in the middle of redoing their master plan and all that, so then we'll complete theirs when they're done. So all the zoning districts are done, are going to be online as soon as the final approval's been done, and point addressing is going to be starting.
Anything else from the public? The board? Motion in order to...
Motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion passed.